Welcome to LIFM, and today we're going to be going over the Primordial cycle of creatures from Gatecrash. They're all avatars, they all cost 7 mana, 5 colorless and 2 of their corresponding colors, and have enter the battlefield effects. Now the reason why I'm going to be going over these is because I think they all have the potential to become EDH staples, at least in my playgroup, and I'd like to get your thoughts on which cards are good or which ones you think are not as good as the rest. So we're going to start with the white one here. It's Luminate Primordial. Obviously, I already explained that their casting cost is the same. They're all avatars. So this one is 4/7 with Vigilance, similar to Elish Norn. However, when it enters the battlefield for each opponent, exile up to one target creature that player controls, and that player gains life equal to its power. So basically what's happening here is when it enters the battlefield, you get to Swords to Plowshare one creature per opponent. I think this one's actually pretty solid. Swords to Plowshare is already a staple in EDH. This guy has an ability that does it for each opponent, and it being an enter the battlefield effect, if you play any kind of recursion or blink effects, you can do this multiple times. I think this one's pretty good, and it's probably going to see a lot of play in EDH. I mean, it's at 7 mana for 4/7 Vigilance. It's not a horrible card, but the ability is just brutal if you can recur the ability. I'm gonna move on to the blue one, which is Diluvian Primordial, and it's a 5/5 flyer. When Diluvian Primordial enters the battlefield, for each opponent you may cast up to one target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If a card is cast this way, it would be put into a graveyard. This turn, exile it instead. So basically what this card does is what the Chancellor of the Spire does when it enters the battlefield, except for each one of your opponents, which makes it stronger than the Chancellor of the Spires on one end, but it kind of fixes a part of the Chancellor that I've found broken in our play group, in the fact that it doesn't exile the card that it copies. So while the Diluvian Primordial is stronger in the sense that you get to cast the spell from each opponent, it exiles a spell after you cast it. So I think it's kind of a trade-off in that you cast more spells, but the spells get exiled, which I like a lot on this card. And it's still a 5/5 flyer. So I think this one, probably more than any of the other ones, is going to see a lot of play in EDH. Costs the same amount as the Chancellor of the Spires. Does the same thing except for multiple opponents, with the only downside being that the cards get exiled. Definitely, I think this card's going to see a lot of play. Okay, we're going to move on to the black one here. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Sepulchral Primordial. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways, this one is on a 5/4 body. It has Intimidate, and whenever it enters the battlefield for each opponent, you may put up to one target creature card from that player's graveyard into the battlefield under your control. So when this guy comes into play, you get to reanimate a creature from each opponent's graveyard. Again, just like the other ones, if you can recur this guy, he is absolutely a monster. And this is definitely one of them that I'm going to play. Maybe in my mono black deck. Definitely in my black green deck. With Gerard as the commander. You can reanimate some big creatures and sack them. I think this guy's definitely going to see some play. And at worst, this guy's a 5/4 with Intimidate, which means only black creatures and artifact creatures can block him. This guy is probably going to be a staple as well. At least in my play group, I know he's going to see play. Let me know what you guys think. We're going to move on to the red one here. It's a 6/4 body with haste. And when Molten Primordial enters the battlefield, for each opponent, gain control of up to one target creature that player controls until end of turn. Untap those creatures, they gain haste until end of turn. This guy is probably going to see some play in my Rada deck, for sure. Maybe in my mono red deck as well. I like the fact that you can untap more than one creature, obviously. And if you have any flicker effects, like I've been saying before, this guy is just a really, really good card. The fact that he has haste is also a good thing. I don't think it's as strong as the black one or the white one or even the blue one, but I think it's still a solid card. Definitely going to see some play. And on to one that I'm definitely going to be playing is the green one, Sylvan Primordial. It's a 6/8 body with reach. And I was actually taking guessed as to what I thought his ability would be, and I was dead on except for the last part of the ability. So when Sylvan Primordial enters the battlefield, for each opponent, destroy target non-creature permanent that player controls. For each permanent destroyed this way, search your library for a forest card and put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Now for this guy, I think even without the fetch part, without fetching forest, this guy is just a really strong card. Non-creature is a lot of things. Just think of what Terrastrodon can already do. This guy kind of does that without giving them tokens. And he gets you lands. So he hits lands, artifacts, enchantments, planeswalkers. This guy, he hits a lot of things. And he's a 6/8 with reach. So I think this guy is definitely going to see some play. I'm pretty sure he's going in my errata deck at 7 mana. It's nothing to cast. I can have this guy out turn 4 or 5 easily. Uh, I don't know about anyone else. You guys can let me know your opinion, but I think this one is probably one of my favorite of the 5. I know it's not the strongest one in terms of, oh, that's amazing, but it's just an ability that I find will be very useful. There's a lot of artifacts, enchantments, and stuff in EDH that just need to not stay alive. The same thing with lands. So I think I'm definitely going to be playing this one. I'm definitely going to be playing the black one. Let me know your thoughts on them and which ones you guys are going to be playing. And as usual, thanks for watching LIFM.